Welcome to the Gnostic Rebellion. Today we're speaking with Dr. Joshua Pritikin, author of a wonderfully interesting book that deals with a core theme here at the Gnostic Rebellion and the Gnostic book that deals with I'm sorry, and the Gnostic Church of Light. Religion Unburdened by Belief is the name of the book. We'll introduce him in a moment, but you'll find immediately below this video, in the description, you'll find a link for our donation button at uh, PayPal, and this program supports the Gnostic Church of Light. It's an historic building, and we invite you to become part of our historic congregation. We're the first fully owned and operating Gnostic church on the continents of the Americas, and your donations are tax deductible. While you do that, we'll extend this blessing. May wisdom and divine providence increase the unique genius of our congregation and bring us to health, wealth, and increase of days. Okay. Having earned his PhD in psychometrics in quantitative psychology from the University of Virginia, Dr. Joshua Pritikin, during his academic career, contributed to 10 peer reviewed publications and now maintains a practice in White City, Oregon. He runs Estrella Counseling and holds a level 3 certification with the IFS Institute, which perhaps we'll talk about a little bit later. But it is his book, Religion Unburdened by Belief, that brings us here today. But now, a quote from chapter 6. One possibility is that empathy functions as a belief enabled ability.
Right. So I think there's two possible accounts for empathy. Either it could be due to this belief in the golden rule, like do unto others is you would like others to do unto you. So it could be a belief in the golden rule, or it could be something more like mystical or spiritual, where you have the conviction that all life forms are part of some greater life form, so that and by virtue of that, it is logical to have empathy for life forms. I think that's the other account. And then maybe the golden rule is like an interpretation of that experience.
Okay. I liked taking the golden rule as part of the belief structure. That was really kind of one idea. And then the other idea was the deeper spiritual idea where you develop the empathy, was the empathic path.
Yeah.
And that I think is good, because I think a lot of people describe, initial spiritual experiences like that. They feel a oneness with the world around them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's nature for some or society for others. They all have they develop some sense of interconnectivity.
Yeah. So in the account that I just kind of summarized from my book, like I do like omit like a conspicuous piece of the argument. Like I don't speculate about where if it is a belief, if it is the golden rule that motivates empathy, then where did the golden rule come from?
Well, yeah, I would put up an initial push against the golden rule, because the golden rule is once again doing what we're supposed to do, not because you're directly feeling anything, because that's what they told you.
Yeah, yeah.
And while you could take the golden rule to heart, and be somebody that lives by it, that it's so deeply ingrained inside of you. But I can't see anybody meditating on the golden rule for hours and hours and hours. You know what I'm saying? And I had too many plums, so I'm going to keep sticking my thumb in, and I'm just going to grow fat on plums.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more plausible that the experience came first and the golden rule is a summary of that, than somehow that I don't know how the golden rule could originate otherwise.
Well, the whole what is it? The original before the Ten Commandments, which is something like 144. Um, uh, Before that, there was the Hammurabi Code, and the Golden
Okay.
Rule comes out of the Hammurabi Code.
Oh, okay. Okay. So maybe it's just a logical something that people worked out logically and they thought, oh, so yeah, okay.
I
So,
think as soon as we created society,
hmm.
we needed to create a way to live within society. You know, and I just can't go hunting your wife with a spear in the middle of the night,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we got to
Uh,
reduce violence somehow.
Use that violence, and I want to keep my wife. Thank you very much. Or wait a minute,
Yeah.
take my wife, please. Henny Young. Um, uh, the, the 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 way that we establish these codes for living, the Hammurabi Code, becomes the first sign of early civilizations now coming to the fore. We've evolved to the point of the original idea of America, where we've come to the individual citizen, and that citizen has certain responsibilities tagged along with certain rights.
Okay. Yes. Rights and
Now,
responsibilities. Sure.
yeah, one of the first responsibilities that you learn as a citizen is to be polite. Say please and thank you. Say good morning and good night. Right?
Okay.
Greet
Yeah.
people on the street, tip your hat to the ladies. Right? We learned how to be citizens. When I was polite, I was recognizing you as a fellow citizen. A little bit of a take, if you want, on the Hammurabi Code, right? Um, the word for state is politia. And
Hmm.
out of that, we derive being polite.
I see. Hmm.
So
Okay.
we're
Well, so there,
having
I
a
guess
communal situation.
there is an
Yeah.
origin story for the Golden Rule that I hadn't imagined, but you have. So I'm glad to hear that
I'm
that's
giving
a
my
possible.
all. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I'm giving my all.
that's a legitimate alternative hypothesis for where empathy comes from.
Well, yeah, and empathy, of course, resides with the group. Sidebar, I certainly go back to my whole idea about a superstitious culture, but this whole thing is group oriented, recognizing each other as citizens, or being polite to each other, or doing unto others, or
Sure.
whatever. And we build culture around that, and that culture, like those religions where we started out with this conversation, that culture may not correspond with motives in my own psyche. I may come up with an important motive that bucks against whatever society would have.
Yeah, sure.
That becomes a problem. So, developing consciousness navigation skills, getting through society in that way. Oh, good. Sorry about that. One more time. Thank you. Okay. Um, uh, so consciousness navigation skills, a summary of really everything we've been saying. Could you summarize that further?
Well, sure. So, uh, for all these practices where I've given like a Varela-Schwartz diagram and analyzed like any given moment in this activity, where are you likely to end up in the Varela-Schwartz diagram, and then um, just looked across the duration of the whole activity, and that's the what the profile represents. So if you put all those diagrams together, then it's easy to see that when you're blended with a part, then you lose presence, and you're you know absorbed into like a private reverie instead of being available to the people you're with. And so this is like the suggesting that learning or building the trust that allows you to stay unblended is a key skill across all these activities. Yeah,
Certainly so. And um, we then there have a whole inner experience and a whole outer experience going on at the same time,
sure,
right? So we're confronting the world of contending forces. Some forces will be allied with you, and some forces will be allied against you. That's life.
sure.
Um, so it brings us to the idea of emotional intelligence. Um, can you see how the emotions arise from the body and the mind's perception of the body and its environment?
I mean, I feel like you're giving me a kind of like an academic analysis of how emotions come about, or like one way they arise. Is what do we get? Where are you going with
Yeah,
this?
I'm prescribing emotions as intimate with the body. And so what the body does for the mind is interpret that as emotions.
Okay,
Okay. Um, and so the intellect then gets employed to examine the emotions. It's the back check. I'm emotionally distraught because I can't go over and kill your wife, and so I'm gonna go run off a cliff. And the intellect comes in and says, "You stupid idiot," right from the start. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
you arrive at certain peace, right? Um,
okay,
so the body, emotions are somatic, and the intellect is not so much somatic. I think there's something somatic about the intellect as well, but the intellect can also transcend the body, and the mind seems to move on its own.
sure.
Um, so again, we get to a point where it's okay to determine the nature of the response. I'm dealing with something out in the world. I got to respond to it because either, you know, um, I got to get the letter to the mailbox on time, or whatever. I'm now dealing and confronting with something, right?
Uh-huh.
And the whole blending, unblending, and I'm beginning to understand that. So, as I've learned in this course, I might turn around and say, "Wait a minute, I can." I'm going to work. I can just drive to the post office and I don't have to worry about what time they do the collection at the mailbox. I can just drop it off on my way to work. And all of a sudden, I've got a solution to the problem, right? And so now I've lost all that frustration, all that anxiety, um, the whole existential problem of blending with, I'm in a hurry, right? And I pull myself back from that. I unblend from
Okay, I'm not sure I'm following you. You mentioned emotional intelligence. I mean, before that, we were talking about blending and unblending as being a key skill, and then now you're giving me an example, which I didn't quite follow what it was an example of.
it. I'm just beginning to describe a way to open inquiry, right? Where we go into, the whole idea of Gnostic rumination. Um, and
Okay, so your
it
Gnostic
started,
rumination, meaning it's a technique from your tradition that you want
yeah,
to introduce me to? Okay,
and I'm trying to use your language,
okay, go ahead,
right?
go ahead. Now I
So,
think I'm with you.
again, with the letter example, right? I've got this letter, I'm on my way to work, and I want to run right out the door because the mailman's coming in 2 minutes, and I'll never make it to the corner.
Okay.
That's my body, all worried about this. Okay. Um, and so then, my intellect comes in and says, wait, you pass the post office on the way to work. You can drop it off right at the post office. It doesn't matter what time you get there. Leave 2 minutes early for work, you'll be fine. You still got 15 minutes,
Hmm.
right? And so all of a sudden you settle down. Somebody not with that open inquiry, where I'm sitting there and I'm consciously playing with my emotions. I see I've arrived at some kind of ecstatic emotional state. This ecstatic state is negative, but it's still an ecstatic state. I'm hyper worried about getting to the mailbox on time because I'm a worry wart. I'm a faggot, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I've got all that automatic stuff going on, really kind of uh, because my body is used to being in this certain state of worry, right? But now here I am confronting that. I'm showing how I've blended with that ecstatic state and I'm unblending from it. I'm giving myself distance. I am not worried. You know what I'm saying? There's multiple ways. I drive around 3 post offices on the way to work. You know what I'm saying? Got that? I can even leave it at work, right? Um, so in all of that, I'm learning about my tendency to this uh, negative state. Not so much with the attempt to change it, which I might decide to do, but noting that that's me, right? So, when my wife says to me at night when I come home, "You were a son of a bitch this morning," I can own that. So now I'm examining myself in the outer world and what my inner world is doing with my behavior. I could take this whole exercise deeper and deeper and deeper. Um, but we have, I think, the one main difference, you might unblend the "I'm in a hurry" and get them to talk to each other, right? In the process of the therapy, what does the calm you want to say, or the unblended you want to say to the blended you that's in the middle of this flurry or was in the middle of this flurry?
So you're asking how this would show up in like a facilitated IFS conversation?
Well, I'm saying that's a part of the process. I'm asking, is that a part of the process when you go through the unblending? Do I have it right or do I have it wrong?
Um, I don't think you like, okay, so if you're not working with a facilitator, you're just going to the mailbox, then you don't need to uh, recite the kinds of questions that I would prompt people with. The difference between
So without practice, I might not explore it properly and more fully.
that's not what I was going to say. I was just going to say that the um, so you have a part that's worried about um, getting to the mailbox in time, and you're blended with it. So the only difference between blending and unblending is whether you're or whether that part feels like it needs to control your actions.
And I with the facilitator, I might learn all about that, right? And the facilitator isn't following me out the door in the morning, right? So I'm on my own there. I
Sure,
agree. Um, and I think without practice, like I think, because I mean, you claim that this book is, a great way for people to do this on their own.
sure,
Um,
could be. But
yeah.
the
So
other thing
on
you
my
said that
own, though, on my own, without practice, because you haven't been a facilitator for me, so I
okay,
wouldn't know well how to go there.
but hold on. Let me just point out one assumption that you slipped in that you may not have noticed. and you were using terminology like then I would unblend, but um, that's going at it from the wrong direction because the issue is that the reason the part's blended is it doesn't trust you. So to um, like to allow the possibility for it to unblend is what needs to happen is for the relationship between you and that part to um, improve to develop more trust
Yeah.
between the two of you.
And you facilitated me twice now, I believe. Um, and I was surprised where you took it. I'm saying you demonstrated an interesting skill in what you pulled out of me and how you took these blended parts and made more blended parts. And I really got to see my thinking in a variety of ways. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm thinking that's too complex for me in the moment. Maybe I sign up for therapy and we go through this process of unblending, or I read your book very carefully and I can do this myself. But I would imagine you would want the experience of a therapist. Um, and I come to a point where I build up this ability myself. I can see and these things and catch these things and see all the different parts of me that I'm blending. But
Okay.
right now, that's impossible. So this is tomorrow morning I'm talking about. I'm rushing out the door with my letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't have time to even go through the process, but I can recognize that I've blended with that motive in my psyche and that my attention has been put there and I can reclaim my attention, even if that's going to remain upset with me.
Well, so, okay, so you're saying like, what can I do in the moment to have a better experience or something
Well,
than I
no,
would?
I'm kind of asking, can I reclaim my attention? Is this an interesting way to go about something?
Hmm. Yeah, so I wouldn't look at it. That's not how I would look at it. In my mind, like when you're racing to send the mail or whatever, like yeah, you do what you have to do. Like life makes demands on you. You can't just like pretend, oh, I'm unblended from this big anxiety, uh, because you may not be. Like it's like
No,
um,
no, no. I'm not claiming to be. Uh, you know, um, I'm not claiming to be unblended from that part. Just that I pulled my
okay,
consciousness out of that part. I pulled my attention, I should say. I pulled my
uh,
attention out of that part. Okay. My attention now is on the part of me that says, relax, you'll get to the post office. Right? Um, and I'm cool with that. I got a plan. Now, that part of me is still angry, right? Because it wanted to be in a hurry. It wanted me fluttering about. Oh, I got a mail letter. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It wanted to see me running up the street in utter panic, right?
well,
Um,
I'm not sure we'd say that. Like that, parts are not always happy about the solutions that they try to implement. Like, and probably that part just wants the letter to be mailed one way or another. It doesn't need to have you in a panic about it.
well, it's lost its force and fire because I've taken my attention off of it.
Okay, but when you say that kind of sounds like suppression. Like I'm not sure,
No, I'm not
like
trying
is
to suppress it because I'm trying to still own it. It's there.
uh
The going to the post office part that I identified with now,
yeah.
um, won over the I'm fluttering to get up the street to mail my letter.
Okay.
And so one part of me, one motive won, the other lost. I'm being a little bit Nietzsche in here.
Yeah, but are you framing it as one lost or is it like a a consensus? Like, have the parts reached a consensus, or does one feel pushed down and the other one
Well,
is
in the moment, I haven't had time to reach consensus, and so I may carry this a while because it will become mindless by the time I get to work. So I may carry this part of me that wants to go into this fluttering hyper crazy, and I may send my secretary to get this memo right down to the third floor now. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Um, and so I learn about myself. I'm not solving the problem, right? Because now I've even kind of slightly abused my secretary, right, to get her into a flutter,
okay?
right? So there's not much I can do in the moment because of outer circumstances that, are binding me.
Okay.
I may be able to take care of this when I get home, right? Um, so I'm going to live off my day, and people are going to say I got off on the wrong side of the bed. Um, and I think as a ruminating step, before we worry about the Gnostic dialogue that you described, the parts talking to each other, coming to compromise, what have you. Because later on, when I do that, I've got to recognize that I've allowed this energy to be taken away from me because of my worrying.
Hmm.
And there was no rational uh, cause for that worry. It was just thoughtlessness. My attention wasn't, set up to deal with the issue. Instead of responding to the issue, I reacted to the issue, right? And so I've got this whole other thing going on. But in the immediate moment, I can carry with me how I did calm myself down so that as I'm running to go tell my secretary to hurry up and get down to the third floor, um, I could say to her, "Can you get that downstairs? They'll be ready for you in 10 minutes." Right? And now she's got no flutter. I've caused no flutter because I've become aware of this. And any wrong side of the bed happened at home.
Hmm.
Right? I didn't take that to work.
I mean, to me, the contrast you're drawing, um, like uh, uh, I feel like the skills that are needed to show up with that kind of presence and stability, that's what you can get from meditation.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
in meditation, we can explore parts of the psyche, in its own right. We don't have to just be going for samadhi, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the kind of meditation that I talk about in my book, where it's mostly about trying to achieve effortlessness, not trying to achieve samadhi.
Right. And so talk about effortlessness.
Have we talked about meditation in a previous interview?
I don't know that we explored it from where we're coming at it now.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Let me just um, t- if I'm retelling it, I'm retelling it. It's fine. So um, so the kind of meditation that I advocate in the book is this meditation that seeks to achieve a kind of effortlessness. And what I recommend is that when you notice that your mind is distracted or you become absorbed in some emotion, you just take write that down on a notepad, jot that down next to you, say, I'm planning what to have for dinner, or thinking about a an argument I had with my friends a few days ago, whatever the matter is, and then after you write it down, then return to your meditation. And then after your meditation session, you can go through those notes. And this is the key part, because you achieve several things here. You um, by giving attention to each of the parts that came up, then you're recognizing that part, the importance of that part, the um, how that part was trying to help you, and then hopefully you can make some progress on addressing its needs so it feels taken care of. And the other thing you're doing is um, you're developing more trust with this part, because you're spending time with it, and letting it know that it doesn't need to interrupt you during your meditation session. So you're teaching it patience as well. And by practicing this day after day with your parts, they gradually learn that they don't need to interrupt you during your meditation. They can come at other times of the day, and your meditation becomes more and more effortlessness, or has more
Okay. Okay.
becomes more
Makes
effortless.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Um, Not really shifting gears, but shifting gears. Quote from your book: religion serves human agency, not through escape, but by cultivating our capacity to choose thoughtfully. Okay, that was preceded with, I believe, um, mutual constraints between perspectives transmit information about private inner experience through observable behavior.
Okay. So which part of that should I address or start addressing?
The part that really gets me is serves human agency. Religion serves human agency. I like that an awful lot.
Yeah, I mean, um, and I'm not sure whether everyone would agree with me or not. Like, I don't know if there's any reference to cite on like the purpose of religion. I mean, who has even written about that? Um, like in generic terms. Yeah, I'm not sure. But like to empower human agency, uh, that seems like uh, what religion has to be for. I don't know that. How
Well,
does that land for
I
you?
think I think you ask a very important question. Does my religion, whatever that may be, empower my agency to perform in this world?
Hmm. So it's you're suggesting using it as a measurement to assess whether your religion is serving you or not.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think it's an
Okay.
important question. Yeah, I think it's an important question, and it will get different answers.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
I'm sure it would.
I like my life, in the Islamic world, and my three wives will follow me covered down the street. And that certainly serving his agency. That he may not have developed empathy is another question, but it's serving this agency. It empowers him. His three slaves working for him, right? Keeps a good house.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
maybe we should ask one of his wives and not him.
well, I think when we get to there, now you got to ask him that question. Does this religion serve your agency? Is it for you an act of expression to be that wife, or do you feel trapped in a life that is drowning you?
Yeah.
And when you start to ask that question, you get to the most potent question of the book: religion unburdened by belief. And I think, almost as if a subtitle, ask yourself about agency. Um, because that's the real key. If I'm compelled to my fear of death, that I'm praying to God, please make sure I go to heaven. That I'm compelled to worship God. I got to get to church every Sunday. That God is something to be adored. That God's decisions are ultimate. These are
Hmm.
things that
So
destroy my agency. You know what I'm
you're
saying?
right. You're giving those examples, PJ, to like like religious themed ways of imposing constraints on yourself.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and and if those constraints don't lead towards that discipline I need for agency, there's a problem. If it does, though it may give me agency, it may deprive me of other things. And in my example, I said empathy, because I don't give a shit about my three wives, right? I don't give them the dignity of walking down the street with me, really. Um, and so is my agency universal?
So like that's a question you'd be posing is um is my agency universal, or is there like equity? Is are you trying to get at that question of equity? Like, is agency equitably distributed or something like that?
Not so much e equitably distributed, because I think, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? I'm a really terrible PhD candidate, right? I haven't done any of the prep work or whatever. So why am I sticking my nose in there? You know what I'm saying? I couldn't even get a letter of recommendation, right? So there's certain agency that's, I've got to recognize natural constraints. Um, but with other agency, because everybody can't go for a PhD. If everybody became a PhD,
Whoa,
it'd be a
whoa,
few
whoa.
people, right? So
I
there's
didn't
going to be a
see. I
level
didn't
of
say.
competition.
Wait, hold on, PJ. I didn't say equal agency. I said like equity of agency, and like
So
my
if
understanding of.
you make X dollars a year in your profession, I should make X dollars a year in my profession. If you come to a certain
No, no.
level of, I'm trying to understand your question.
Um, so equity is different from equality. Like equity is more. Um, I'm.
I was trying to go there.
Yeah,
You know, uh,
I'm actually not sure about a precise definition, but what I meant is like an appropriate measure of agency for each person. Like, yeah, obviously, like children shouldn't have as much agency as adults. Like that's obvious. So yeah, like according to each person's circumstance and capacity.
and yet people have different capacities, even, right? You know,
Sure.
some people can attain to, almost no agency, and others can, maximize their agency. Some people can do that in a way that benefits others, and some people can do that and run over others in the world.
Sure.
And um, whether or not there's right or wrong to that is for the world of philosophers. Um, but it is. It may be for me that I give agency to becoming a serial killer. And eventually it leads to me getting caught and put in jail or maybe in a psychiatric prison or what have you. But my life, my liberty is now taken from me.
Right.
I had my agency. It was the right thing to do, per se. It didn't involve empathy for my victims, but that was my agency taken. And that agency was valuable to me. Um, and in that, I executed that agency and performed, these terrible acts. I got
Hmm.
caught, which is generally inevitable, and I'm getting properly jailed for that, right? So the loss of empathy caused the problem, and it allowed me to give strength to a certain other part of me. But that other part of me was a real, genuine, very strong, deep-seated part of me that just overwhelmed any empathy I could have had, right? Um, I am, as we could say of, certain people, like say Hitler or something, I am the incarnation of evil. Just as, somebody might, deliver, flowers and some hot soup when you're home in bed and sick, and that person's an angel, right? So we have these incarnations, and there's all sorts of people in this world of contending forces, and here it is.
Yeah.
That religion, unburdened by belief, is potentially dangerous, or maybe actually dangerous. And yet it's the only path to liberty that one can have, at least at this point in our development, as a species, as a human race.
Okay. I mean, I don't know about that claim. Like, I wouldn't want to claim it's the only path. I'd just be happy enough if it was a path. But maybe it is the only path. I don't know.
Well, one is the only path for one is the only path for others. While, what's the name of that great British guy that killed everybody, the serial killer years ago? Whatever. Uh, while that serial killer is running around England, somebody else is, having a spiritual experience and writing the Rosicrucian codices, right?
Hmm.
And changing the flow of esoteric thought, right? So we have the highs and the lows all happening at the same time. All of
Okay.
it's an act of the divine, and everything we do is an act of is a sacrament. Every interaction that we have. The killer killing, that's a sacrament. It's a Eucharist, right? Us talking back and forth and enjoying that conversation. It's a Eucharist. It's an interaction, an experience that um, becomes real because we've had that experience.
Hmm. Well, I don't know about that. Like, I'm not sure that if you're labeling everything as sacred, like, then what does sacred even have any meaning anymore? Like,
Everything we do has meaning. Absolutely everything. Everything is a magical act. Getting up in the morning and taking a shit is a magical act.
mhm.
Okay, it's an act of will. And even though it's a tiny act of will, it's the mere cleansing of the body. It we're still allowing the body to maintain a level of health, and if we approach that with awareness, with mindfulness, then it's its own sacramental experience.
I mean, it just sounds like you're infusing everything with some extra meaningfulness.
Well, everything has to have meaning. If not, excuse me, if not, I just shouldn't have done that. Um, um, every experience is real. Every experience is everybody acting in this moment and interacting in this moment, right? So there's this great multiplicity happening. And in that within that multiplicity, there's every kind of being, the callous and the generous, right? We can break these off into all these dichotomies. Forget the Greek term for it. I just learned it from this other guy. But um, uh, so accepting the world as it is and not looking for a world that's beyond it. Because if you disavow this world and insist there's a better world somewhere else, it's the perfect practice of nihilism. You're uh,
Sure.
really disavowing any meaning in your life. I think that's a
Okay. Well,
wonderful way to end.
okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I think we
Okay.
covered it.
Uh, I think we got through as much as we could possibly get through to cover this book in every
Yeah.
tiny way, from every angle. Um, and again, I'm very impressed with the work. It's something that I'm going to hold on to and refer back to because I think there's a lot in it that, the whole blending scheme is wildly attractive to me. Um,
Yeah.
I want to see what I can do with that and how I can um, handle that because I've been amazed with Nietzsche's idea that we have all of these motives in our psyche, and Jung grabbed onto that.
Sure.
And each motive wins in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And health is getting the right motive to come out at the right time,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So that just these motives now have become blended beings. So I'm looking at them in an entirely different way.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
that blended being I could converse with. That's an interesting exercise,
Hmm. Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I could do it as well as you did it with me. Um, but I think I could learn to do it better than I might do it today. And for
Mhm.
now, I just want to keep it in the fore of my thoughts. I think that's worth something. I wish you all the best of luck with the book. Um, Stay tuned because I'm going to start running a series with another psychologist. I'll keep his name out of it for the moment, but who's very interested in your program and wants to hear more about what you have to say. I think there's something captivating in that. I
Okay.
went from every other place that I could come from for your work, everything that it is suggested to me.
Hmm.
And sometimes I was way off course, but I learned a lot and I feel good about that. And it's something I do want to take with me. So, once again, Dr. Joshua Pritikin, um, Religion Unburdened by Belief. We'll say thank you for coming. Thanks for all your help with all of this. You've been just great, and I've enjoyed myself so immensely, and I hope that catches our listeners. And we'll keep building because I'll keep promoting, especially with all these programs. You're getting promoted heavily, so um, I hope you can bring that to a lot of other people.
I hope so too. I mean, I have so much gratitude for all the thought and attention you've given this and time. Um, and it's I'm really delighted that you found value in the work, and um, I hope we can continue this collaboration somehow.
We'll figure out a way. Write
Yeah.
another book. You know what I'm saying? But we'll find a way to get together because um, I think there's more to this than we've even yet touched on. So,
Yeah,
uh,
perhaps.
maybe even to have a philosophical discussion of some sort. I
Yeah.
don't know if you got gears for that, but we would get metaphysical, that's for sure. Um, it would be fun to do all that. It would be fun for me, philosophically, to make the argument uh, to further unburden religion by belief.
Further, go further somehow.
Yeah, to go further, to find a
Okay.
way, and just it would just be a philosophical discussion, not root for your next set of exercises, right?
Hmm.
And we would just be, pissing at the wind in a certain sense, but it would be fun.
Okay. Well, we'll see what develops.
As you develop, send me those links you're going to send me. I'll get this out to you as soon as I can. I still gotta space the other one out. This
Okay.
one at least I think is a little bit shorter. I'm not sure. Well, we
Yeah, it
still put a
is
lot of well.
less than 3 hours.
Yeah, that's just great. I love it. This opened me up. I actually went out and bought the Zoom package, whatever, $11 a month or whatever it was.
Oh,
Um, so that I can do longer videos. I was originally confining myself because I hate watching long videos. Um, People just go on about nothing. Like with all these
yeah.
videos, we're able to dive right in. We didn't go around and say, "How's the wife and kids? Yeah, did you get that car fixed?" And they're on it, and describe yourself and tell me who you're from. Well, I used to back in the day, and it's like that's the first 20 minutes, and it's an hour and 40-minute video, and I'm just like, where do I stop in my forward fast? I don't. I shut
Well,
it off. I go,
okay, but hold on. Like I should stop recording, right?
yeah, stop recording.
Yeah.